Hey everybody, this is Steve Van Diest. I am the co-host of the Sharpen podcast. It's brought to you by Acumen. We're a community of CEOs and business owners looking to level up, do it in community, grow their top line, optimize their bottom line, and enrich their storyline. Today we're going to talk about a few things. It's lessons learned, and there's some key ones: AI, hiring and firing, marketing. But the reason I think this is a special episode is because we're going to get the perspective from one of the sharpest leaders I know, a dear friend, a sharp leader, a founder, a co-owner, a genius salesperson. And why this person is so special as well is because she's a female. And I love having this perspective. I think we miss it too many times. And so I've got the fantastic member, Robin Emiliani. Did I say it right?
Yes, close
Okay.
enough.
I got to say it fast. I was practicing. So
Yes.
you were part of the summit team here in Denver. And tell me more about what you did, who you're working for, when you start, how'd you start it? Give us that brief update and how you got to this point. And then I want to dig into some of these key lessons you've learned.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me, Steve. Happy to be here today. So I am Robin Emiliani and one of the founders and the owners of a full service marketing agency called Catalyst Marketing Agency. And we just had our 8th birthday 2 weeks ago. So
Yay.
we've been in business, yes, for 8 years, and feel like I've lived a few like
In dog years, business years, that's like 60, I think.
same,
Yes.
same.
Okay, so you guys founded this 8 years ago. What
Yes.
were some of the early big wins?
Ooh, we were very, very blessed and fortunate to have in our very first year of business, we landed Microsoft as one of our clients. So, and I want to say it took me about 6 months to close that deal and actually jump through every hoop to become an approved vendor of Microsoft, which is no small feat. All of the insurance required for that, the IT security requirements for that. But once we landed Microsoft, as you can imagine, it really opened a lot of doors for us and led to exponential growth, which was awesome.
Yeah, so you're a women-owned company.
Yep.
Is there some pros? This wasn't a question I asked you earlier, but some pros, some cons. What's that experience in that world?
Well, I'll start by saying like what we're up against. So interestingly enough, there was a statistic that came out from Adweek that less than 1% of marketing agencies are owned by women.
What?
So yes, if you can believe it. So we are part of that less than 1%. So as you can imagine, like we're challenging convention is at the core of our being. We've been doing it since day one. But one of the things, and I'm actually going to talk about the advantages of being a
Hmm.
female-owned business. And one of the things that we've really leveraged lately in the last couple of years is we became a certified women-owned business. Interestingly enough, that's a thing, and you have to jump through a lot of hoops to become that, because I guess it's abused and so we went through that certification. So now we are certified by WeBank, and WeBank actually stands for, let's see, it's Women's Business Enterprise National Council. And they're actually going to host their big conference here in Denver in 2 weeks. But the doors that this helps us open is directly to supplier diversity teams within big companies. So like AT&T or Microsoft have a supplier diversity division where they're motivated to bring on diverse suppliers like minority or women-owned businesses. So they have a set quota that they have to achieve the number of vendors. So that's been one avenue of business for us, is going after a lot of these supplier diversity groups within large enterprise companies, which is awesome because they're giving little people like us a chance at the
Yeah,
table.
it is. You guys are, isn't that TV show back in the old days, Booze and Buddies? Wasn't that the whole
Bosom buddies.
Yes, sorry. Wasn't that the whole
Not bosom. Not happy hour yet, Steve. Come on.
exactly? But wasn't that the whole premise? It was like a women-owned marketing agency, and the
I don't
guys
know.
had.
That's older than me, Steve. Come on. Like,
Okay, so it's dating myself. Okay, so what in the 8 years.
Actually, it's more like who's the boss? I don't know if you remember that, but
Oh,
like Tony
yes.
Danza, yes, and Angela Bauer, she ran her own marketing agency. So actually,
Yeah.
that was my dream. I wanted to be Angela Bauer, and look, here we are.
Loved it. I think their daughter was Alyssa Milano.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I grew up in Southern California around her. So, yeah, what a small world. Who's the boss? You are Who's the Boss. And what are those things that you've learned now, 8 years? And sometimes it's actually the negative 2 or 3 years that brought you into business. And now 8 years running a business that's churned in successful clients. You've got some name brand ones, big and small. One of your first one was Microsoft.
Yeah.
What are some of the key lessons in that marketing agency world that the rest of the world? Because I think one of the questions that comes up often in our CEO council in Acumen is no one can figure out marketing. It's frustrating. And how do we hire marketing? And do we hire outsource? Do we hire you? Do we bring somebody in? So give us some wisdom on that.
Yeah, well, I have very strong opinions about that. One of the benefits from where I sit running a marketing agency is I was actually client side for the majority of my career. And it's one of the reasons why I started Catalyst because I was always disappointed by the marketing and advertising partners that I hired. And it didn't matter how much due diligence that I did or how much vetting that I did and research on that particular company. I felt like the marketing partners I was hiring, they weren't creative enough. They certainly didn't move fast enough. And they didn't care about the number one thing that I cared about, which was impacting the bottom line. Marketing should be impacting revenue. And so when people ask me, hey, we're at the tipping point, we're ready to hire a marketing executive, what should I look for? So back to like I have really strong feelings about this, but oftentimes people make the mistake of hiring a marketing leader that has a really strong brand focus
Hmm.
or a really strong PR focus. I tell them no, the person that you need has to be revenue minded. Those you need to listen for language when they describe their experience and their history that's related to either lead generation or customer acquisition. That is going to be the most valuable marketer that you can find. So seek out those people that are, and you also hear demand gen. That's another phrase that you'll hear thrown around. But those people are all about impacting the bottom line. So they're crafting marketing strategies or crafting marketing campaigns. The other stuff you can outsource. And because branding is, seasonal, really, you're doing your brand evolution. Maybe it's a constant undertone, but you're doing the big brand refreshes on an occasional basis, which is why you need somebody that's laser focused on really filling the marketing and sales funnel for you.
So that's interesting. Focus on the bottom line, which is kind of the scorecard of business. Yet you and I have a lot of friends, people we like that they're branding specific. They are PR specific. And they come in and they convince medium, mid market, small business owners to say, no, this is first. How is the small business, mid market business guy and gal going, how do we choose? Is it
You know
is
what?
it be laser focused?
That's a great question. It's not either or. So don't think of it, but I think what's happening is we're seeing the brand marketers of yesterday are actually phasing themselves out. And because the CMOs of today are being measured and their bonuses are being tied to the number of leads that they're generating or the number of conversions that they generate. So and know that branding is a component of lead generation as well. Like you can be doing a brand awareness campaign, but having that, if they don't use the words campaign, lead gen, customer acquisition, demand gen, it's a red flag in my book.
Okay, so I've got 25 people. We've got 20 million. We just hired our first CMO. Whose responsibility then is to help that person stay focused because they're coming on? Is it your job, the owner? Is it whose job?
Yes, as the owner, the CMO should report directly to you or the CEO if you have that in place. Now, the one thing I would recommend if you have head of sales, those people, if you have a chief revenue officer, oftentimes we'll see CMOs need to be in alignment with a chief revenue officer. I mean, that should be their best friend. Those two should absolutely be in lockstep as they're, continuing to grow the company.
So here you are, a marketing agency, and
Yeah.
you're helping business owners hire their own internal marketing. Why would you do that? Because aren't you that person for them?
No, because every marketing leader needs help. But
Okay.
to me, this is the core set of responsibility. This person needs to be spearheading the strategy for the organization. They absolutely are going to need help from either an agency or a couple of freelancers to support them, whether it's content development or social media, or doing digital marketing, some of those other skills can be outsourced, but this person needs to be strategically minded.
Because you've seen it now that you've signed multiple
Yes, lived
contracts
it.
from you've
Yeah.
lived it for the last 8 years of small and big companies coming in, and you can recognize the CMO that's missed. It's the
Yes.
wrong one. So that's a key piece of information that as small business owners we've got to think, and medium size, going, this person's very important. It's got to be bottom line.
And you need them
Something.
sooner rather than later. I think one of the mistakes that I've seen business owners make is they wait too long to get a marketing person. And while, they're able to grow the company just by their own relationships, eventually that well runs dry and you need a really
Yeah.
strong marketer that's really going to help you keep that engine going.
Love it. Okay, so something's been going on the last couple of years. A lot of us feel like it's just happened in the last year, but
Mhm.
it's been around for a long time. If we've got one of these square computers that we hold in our pocket, it's been playing around the world of AI. In
Yeah.
marketing agency, AI, are they in conflict? Are they in step? Is it important? So one of the key other pieces that you're going to share with us of lessons learned is AI. Give us, unload on us on is it good, bad? Do you love it, hate it?
So, I'm one of those people that when something new comes out, like I want to be the expert. I want to be the first to know about it. And this benefited me in my career, even going back to the days when marketing automation first came out. I'm like, I want to be the power user of the marketing automation tool so that I can teach other marketers how to use this. So when AI came out, I'm like, okay, I want to be the expert on this. Well, lo and behold, that's not as easy as it sounds. That was pretty arrogant of me to think that. But the more I use it, the more comfortable I'm getting with it and the more excited I am about it. And I'm learning like I need to figure out pretty much everything I do during my business day is weave it into my life, even into the simple little things. So for example, here's a real world example. This morning we've been working on a submission for an award, and we had to fill out a questionnaire. We had our writer help us with it. And then we were like, wait a minute, maybe we should drop it into AI and see what AI does to it. And the prompt simply was make this sound better. And what it spit back out, I was astounded. I was like, this is amazing. This is so well written. It's so articulate. Somehow it was able to grab the tone of voice, probably because, we wrote it in our own
Yeah.
tone of voice, but it just took it and enhanced it. It made it sound smarter. Now, was it perfect? Absolutely not. I had to go back and I had to refine a couple things. And then there were a couple times where I was like, wow, that sounds awesome. Like that's exactly what I was trying to convey, but clearly couldn't get it out in words. So I think a couple ways we use it in marketing. Number one is strategy. And know that it's not going to replace the strategy that you're creating or that great marketing leader that you're hiring to create great lead generation campaigns. But it is going to enhance it. It's going to make it you think of things that you didn't initially think of. So think of it as appending what you're doing. The other thing, and we just got back from a conference, and of course, AI was like the hot topic there, is especially for a lot of enterprise companies, is the development of content.
Mm.
So there is no greater thing that you can do in marketing than develop content. Establish yourself, your business as a thought leader in the industry that you're going after. And so now you can generate content at scale. And what they're predicting, this is fascinating, that in a couple years, AI is going to have greater authority over people like you and me. So they're going to attribute it to be smarter. And because it's pulling from all different types of
Mhm.
resources, and it's not just Steve's words or Robin's words, which I love. One of the other ways too is competitive analysis If you're wondering what your competitor is doing, drop it into Chat GPT and ask what they're doing. It is so precise. It can even tell you what they're spending on advertising, which is awesome. So why wouldn't you want to know, what your competitors are doing and how they're trying to gain competitive advantage over you? So even developing processes, I mean, there's so many different ways, sentiment tracking, et cetera.
So the small business owner uh, can use the free version or the paid version, or
Yes.
is
Free. Start with the free version. Use Chat GPT. I know there's, some other ones that you have to pay for, but start with that and get comfortable with it. Because
okay?
I
So
think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
okay, you're saying this, and it's going to become smarter. To be smarter than me in a couple years is not going to be hard, but smarter than you as the creative agency. But you're saying this. Is there a threat to your industry and to some others' industries? You're speaking to small business owners and specifically a marketing agent. You're like, well, I've hired my right CMO, but now I can develop
Mhm.
strategy, concept, copy. I still have to tweak it. Is it going to eliminate people? Is it going to eliminate you guys?
Yes. It, 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 it will eliminate some people. I think where this might have the greatest impact is with writers. I think because people can create content at scale. However, back to the story that I was telling you earlier, like you still have to have a human touching it after AI creates it. You have to go back. It's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some language that isn't quite right, or it doesn't convey the thought that you're trying to get across. So yes, it is going to eliminate some jobs, but I think it's actually going to create more jobs, like people that are really going to be experts in this field and utilizing some of these tools. And we learned last week with some of the companies that are using AI for things like customer stories and being able to collect customer testimonials at scale instead of the like, hey, call up customer and ask them
Yeah.
how do you feel about Catalyst marketing services, et cetera. So I think while yes, it's going to eliminate some, I think it's just going to create more, and we shouldn't be afraid.
So more not afraid because there's a soul. There's still a
Yeah,
reason why you and I connect once a month, and then we bring
yeah,
CEOs in. Because if not, we could just say, AI, I'm thinking about a merger and acquisitions deal or taking on this private equity deal, and tell me what's best. Yet we still present this to other business owners in our community to go, but there's a soul. And so
right.
I think that's what you just described also then is as a marketing agent, part of your first advice to us was how do you hire that CMO and not just a branding PR because you still want that person that has a soul and they have to be
Right.
skilled on we still have to develop bottom line, so that's your evaluation. And then this AI piece, and we'll close kind of where do you see the economy and markets? Because you're working with everybody. You're working with enterprise, you're working with small business. How are you seeing that from your perspective?
Yeah, from where we sit, because we work with so many enterprise companies, I think one of the fortunate and unfortunate things is these companies predict the future. So we saw the economy tightening up probably a year before most people, just because the Microsofts of the world, the NetApps of the world, Adobe of the world, they were actually pulling back and not, marketing's the first thing that they scale back on, or one of the first things because it's considered overhead. The good news is we saw a significant loosening of budgets in Q4 of 2023. So to me, that's an indicator 2024 is going to be a really strong year because once we see, because they're ahead of the curve, it's our mid-sized companies that are right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Whereas enterprise companies really are predicting what I think is our future.
Well, it's another example of why you need to be part of an Acumen peer community. Everybody wants a Robin and a marketing team on their team. Without you, because there is you're reading the tea leaves. It's like, do
Yes.
we need an economist? No, we just need to ask Robin what's going on.
I don't know about that, Steve.
And so there's an element. So tell us
I
how can
want
we
that.
find? So I'm a company somewhere around the United States. I want Robin to help me find my CMO. I want her to help build out a strategy and a team and a concept and bottom line. How do they get a hold of you? And is there a way, social, website? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yes, so feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email at robin@catalystmarketing.io. So
Catalystmarketing.io sounds like it's the
yes,
website.
yes.
Yeah, you're over here in Denver in downtown in the
Yeah.
Rhino area, and you were a lot of fun. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom.
Yes, of
Your
course.
energy is always contagious. And if the rest of you are going, wait, I want a Robin on my team, and I'm sitting in Kansas City or I'm sitting in Arizona or Denver, and I want to be part of something like this where there's a soul. Acumen is that for you, and you can visit us at www.acumenimpact.com. Check out the resources page, the ebooks, the upcoming events, and maybe you'll see this wise woman floating around the Denver metro area. Stop her and say thanks for sharing your insight. So we appreciate you tuning in, and Robin, have a wonderful afternoon.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. You too.